But how does someone then take the steps necessary to say, Jocelyn, I want to learn to communicate what I want, but it's not necessarily only about hurting my partner's feelings. It's what if I say what I like and they tell me no?
Amazing. Yeah. So the first piece is a lot of people don't have, again, the language, right? So something that I do with my clients, I created a workbook called Knowing Me, Knowing You that literally takes somebody from like through an entire sexual experience, from time of day all the way to aftercare, right? So communication, foreplay, initiation of intimacy, motion in the ocean. And this really gives them the tools to be able to say, I like this, I don't like this, I enjoy this, I don't enjoy that, right? So that is one tool that I give my clients to kind of help them understand how to say the things that are hard to say, right? Now, whenever you say the things that are hard to say and your partner says no, right? That is an invitation for a conversation. And a lot of people, okay, sorry, 2 points. That is an invitation for a conversation, right? So what that means is checking in. Does your no mean forever? Is this just something you'll never be interested in? Or are you open to discussing this a little bit more and seeing if maybe with more education, maybe with more understanding, you might be interested in this particular act, right? So that's one point. And then the second point is that a lot of people get in relationships and they talk about everything else, family, career, finances, da 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 da. But they don't talk about sex. So then they end up with someone for 10 years that they're sexually incompatible with, which is why I always say that talk about sex early on in the relationship. If I got a really big kink that turns me on so much and you don't like it, and I want to be a monogamous person, like that's going to be a problem at one point, right? So that sexual compatibility is really important. Okay. So I'm going to give you an example of a couple that I worked with that I'm still like so impressed with their development. It's just been amazing. So the husband had an affair and they were on the brink of divorce. They said, we don't know, like we don't know if we're going to survive this, blah, 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 blah. The wife loved him so much and said, I want to figure this out. Like, this is our last chance. Like, let's see if we can salvage this relationship. So he said a lot of hard truths. He said, I'm curious about other women. I have a lot of fantasies about other women, and I don't really want to die without having these experiences. They'd been together for 15 years. And she was so courageous. She sat through all of it, and there were so many tears and so many hard moments, right? But I don't push my clients. I always check in. Is this a hard no for you? Right? And it wasn't for her. She said, I'm open to hearing more about this. I'm open to exploring possibilities. And what we discovered and what came out through coaching is that she actually was bi-curious. She was curious about being with women. And so through a lot of hard conversations and a lot of co-creating, they discovered that they were interested in maybe playing with other women together as a couple. And now they're like they're regulars at their local swingers club. And they like message me all the time, like, oh my God, we hooked up with this couple and it was so much fun. Like they're having a blast, right? Because of all of these hard conversations. Now, if she had said, this is a hard no for me, right? He obviously would have needed to respect that, and that probably would have been the end of their relationship. But she was genuinely open to just doing this. And something I told her very clearly, I said, if you're doing this just for him, that is not going to end well. So if you embark on this journey with him, it needs to be for you, right? And we made that very, very clear. And she 100% does it for her now. And I'm just so proud of them.
When it comes to situations like that, because it's always interests me, how does someone identify for themselves if it's a soft no, hard no, and if they're doing the transition for themselves or they're doing it for the other person?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's a lot of self check-ins, a lot of asking yourself, like, am I interested in this? Is this something I could do? And also, a lot of people tend to say no because they don't have education. They don't have information, right? So we'll take this couple, for example. They thought swinger clubs were just like a free-for-all. She had this idea, or they had this idea in their head that like, oh, they're just going to show up and people are going to be having sex everywhere and everyone's going to be like wild. And I actually told them, I was like, no, 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 you don't understand. Swingers are amazing at respecting boundaries. There's lots of communication that happens. Everyone is very kind. And once, they started realizing like, really? And they started learning more and more about it, then they're like, huh, okay, actually, yeah, we might be interested in this, right? We might actually be down to try it. So I think the first step in knowing is getting all of the education that you need to get to understand a specific act, whatever it may be, swinging, pegging, threesomes, using a vibrator, right? Whatever. Get all the education, right? Look on Google, hire a sex coach, do everything you have to do to fully educate yourself. Once you're fully educated, then you can make an educated decision. You know what? I got all the knowledge and the information. I'm still not into it. It's not for me, right? Or, oh, now that I've learned a little bit about it, I could be curious about talking about this with you. Let's figure out how we can make this work, right? So I would definitely say that constant check-ins and obtaining all the knowledge and education you can on that specific sexual act.